Boom. There we go. We're live. What's going on, everybody? It's Mel here, Dark Side of the Grill. You got Chris Shem, Titletown Griller. Da-da-da-da.
Happy Tuesday. Happy after the cook. It is Tuesday, July 27th.
That's it.
Holy cow.
I thought we would go with Taco Tuesday today. Because it's Tuesday. So we'll do Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
Gonna be a good time.
I am a firm believer in the philosophy that you should just live every day like Taco Tuesday. I think the world would be a better place if we all could just live every day like it's Taco Tuesday.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Yep. I think everyone would be happy.
Oh, I don't know, man. The wife's got me on like lettuce wraps and stuff. It's a weird time. I wish I could go back to all you could eat tacos. Yeah, it's a weird time for Mr. Mel. You know how that goes, but
Yeah, I walked in the door and quick wolfed down a salad with Trompo King Euro seasoned chicken breast.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a nice quick salad, little feta cheese, little Greek dressing. Boom. My stomach's happy for now.
Oh, I bet. And that kind of brings us right into the next. It's Taco Tuesday. If only we had someone that was like really big into tacos, like
an aficionado.
Yeah, an al pastor kind of guy. Someone that. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, nice quick time. And there he is, just like that. Boom. Boom, just like that.
What's up, Chris? Wow. Hey, Mel.
Is it like one of those things where we say taco 3 times? No,
that's it. Beetlejuice.
King is here.
The Trompo King, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gnome. He's the guy, the magic behind the Trompo King. There it is.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend, right there. That's fantastic.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, man. Right out of the gate, that pastor seasoning you got is still. Man, I double back to that stuff all the time.
Well, I love that stuff, and I'm not kidding. I literally just ate the chicken breast gyros. What I do is I'll cook up a whole batch of them because I'll vacuum seal them and freeze them for nights like tonight where I'm stuck behind at work, and my wife doesn't really like cooking. So all she has to do is take those out of the freezer, thaw it, and we got salads made, and it's awesome. Kids like it. I like it.
Thank you. I would like to take credit for making that al pastor seasoning, but that was, that cost me $50 in Mexico City a couple years ago. It's an old 90-year-old or 100-year-old recipe that I got from the great grandma over there.
Yeah, I think your ROI is pretty good on that $50.
Doing pretty well. But my kids came up with their own seasoning, and they handcrafted those, and I was super impressed. I don't think they're watching right now, but I got to say that Pit Boss Gabe, my older son, that's my favorite. The Euro seasoning is my absolute favorite, followed by the shawarma.
And he did it in one take too, right?
One take.
No. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
He was talking to George over at Five Monkeys barbecue sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They made their batch in one shot. And Gabe's like, I'm doing mine in one shot too. And nailed it. Just nailed it the first time.
He called his shot and hit it out of the park.
Yep. So how have you been, Chris? Haven't seen you in a while.
I've been good, man. Keeping busy, running around. We had a little family trip a few weeks ago. I had a conference where I got some CMEs. We also had some downtime. That was in Charleston last week, so we had a good time there. Celebrating my Milwaukee Bucks winning a championship. I'm not going to lie.
No.
It was a little part of the reason why I wasn't here last Tuesday. I had to watch that game, which sucked because it ended at 11 o'clock. I had I had to wake up at 3:30 for my flight out of here the next day. And after they won the championship, there was no way I was falling asleep before 1 o'clock.
Right.
I'm still in bed scrolling through Twitter at 1 o'clock, and my wife's like, seriously, we're getting up in 2 hours. I'm like, yeah, but this hasn't happened in my lifetime.
Yeah, that's
right?
awesome.
I guess that's the equivalent to what the Red Sox winning, the World Series.
Darn near, or the Edmonton Oilers winning.
What are you talking about?
When was the last time
Stop
they
it.
won?
It's been a while, but then when they win like 10 at a time. So
okay, it was exactly 50 years for the Bucks.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you never know, eh? That's crazy. That is crazy.
So what do we got for tacos tonight? I gotta admit, my younger son grew on the queue, and my wife made schnitzel tonight.
Oh, nice.
You know that, Mel. You know some good old Polish schnitzel, right? German and Polish schnitzel. So I was going to go with the tacos, but I couldn't say no to some schnitzel and some sauerkraut.
Yep. I finished the leftovers of that mango pico de gallo that I did on the weekend there. Holy crap. So Buddha did his live on Saturday on Green Egg, and he did red snapper fish tacos with mango pico de gallo. And I had to redo it. I had to recreate it. As soon as I saw that, I was like, that is something I have never done. And I like a not quite ripe mango. I like them a bit sour still.
You like a little firm and sour.
Yes, firm and a bit sour in the pico with the salt and the lime juice. Holy shnikey, it was good, man. It was, I was so happy. Because then right away I was like, chorizo's next, right? Like I had a list of shit that needed to be in that right away after doing that. I did Bossa fillets and Cajun shrimp and then chicken breasts. And that was fantastic. But right away I was like, I need a spicy chorizo. I got to throw picanhas in here, right? The skirt needs to get done here right away just to eat up this pico de gallo. And now I'm like, I'm going to make a pail of it now because it was that good.
So which one was your favorite out of those three?
The shrimp.
Yeah.
For sure the shrimp. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of shrimp tacos, man. Yeah. Grilled shrimp anyway. Like I have a hard time getting them to the tortillas. Because I just like those. I did the kiwi mussels the other day, right?
Ooh.
And the wife, she's looking at me. She's like, "I thought you did mussels as well." I'm like, "No, I didn't do any mussels." What? And then she saw my story the other day. She's like, I knew you did the mussels. Where did they go?" I'm like, "Yeah, I ate them."
Gone.
Like they didn't even make it in the house. It was part of the meal, and I was like,
"That's awesome."
I couldn't even stop myself. I ate the whole batch myself. Like it was so good.
Oh, I would be in deep shit. Both of my daughters, their favorite food is mussels. So if I made mussels and to bring it into them, I'd be in big trouble.
No doubt.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, Pit Boss Gabe. Just doing a little cameo here.
If you aren't following our dude here, he is doing some righteous grilling on his, mostly on the drum smoker, right, Gabe?
Yeah.
Give him a follow at is it at Pit Boss Gabe, all one word, or is there an underscore between
There's an underscore under Pit Boss and Gabe.
Okay. So at Pit Boss, PITBOSS underscore GABE. Give him a follow on Instagram. You will not be disappointed. Little dude's throwing out some awesome stuff. So check him out.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, as you know, Pit Boss Gabe got a really generous contract with Tyson Foods.
Mm-hmm.
He's repping their Chairman's Reserve, which is a fantastic meat. You know, coming into this, I never knew I knew Tyson as chicken. I didn't know Tyson had a line of pork, prime pork, and then they also have Chairman's Reserve, and they have the Nature's Prairie, I believe.
Yep.
They have a fantastic line of meats, and he has an opportunity here. And he took it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That little guy, he's gonna go big places.
See, those are the guys you need to be hanging out with. These two right here.
That's it.
Yeah, we were just talking about your one take on your Euro seasoning that you hit out of the park, and I just had some of that again tonight. That's fantastic, man.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yep, there.
Yep.
He's like, Dad, I want to make my own seasoning. And in the kitchen, he went and nailed it. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff's deadly. Absolutely deadly. Love that stuff.
Yeah, I did not have tacos today, but I was thinking about tacos today and trying to think about what I want to do. Like, I want to do kind of a non-traditional taco, I think. And, not necessarily Mexican flavors. Actually leaning more towards maybe like an Asian type flavor taco.
I've done a Korean short rib taco.
Oh, really nice. Yep.
Yeah, I've done a couple of those. Let me go back to your mango. You made a mango pico.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So some of the benefits of being down here in Florida is my neighbor has a mango tree that produces 300-400 mangoes at a whack.
That's insane.
So they're the sweet Florida mangoes. They're firm, but they have that really thin seed. They don't have that big seed. It's a nice thin seed, so you got a lot of mango meat.
Yep.
So we went out fishing, and we're 3 miles away from the snapper spot.
Yep.
So we got a whole bunch of snapper, and we took the guts out. Of course, we scaled it, left them whole, and we stuffed it with that. We called it a mango chutney, more like a mango pico with onions, tomatoes, mangoes. And put it right on the grill.
Yeah,
we had them whole, and it was fantastic.
Oh, that's
I love
awesome.
that one.
Yeah.
That's some of the benefits of being in Florida. If you could stand the heat and the humidity and the mosquitoes, then you deserve to get on the boat and catch some snapper and pluck some mangoes.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's kind of what I was thinking. Because up here, a mango is like $3, $4 for one. So.
When you come visit me, make sure you bring a basket. You could collect 200 of them if you want.
Yeah, no. Oh, bad. It was a funny thing because I got like 5, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I need 5, but
you needed
probably. And I did.
You needed them.
I did. Yeah, that's when you nailed a pico is when you ate half of it. Right, and you haven't even started like making the tacos yet. You're like. Whew, that's a lot of salt for like.
Maybe I just need to try one more.
Yeah, just in case, right? That's what was happening. I was like, geez, this is unbelievable. But
so sometimes I'll put, I'll skin a peach and I'll put a very firm peach in lieu of a mango, or sometimes I'll do both and make a peach salsa peach pico.
Yep.
It kind of mimics it, but when you have the acid and you have all those flavors with the onion, the cilantro, and everything combined together, it's just like you can taste it all. It doesn't all blend together. You get every aspect, and then you put it on a fish or a chicken. Man, and that fish was good, or seafood.
Well, that's one of the wife's friends was over for tacos, and she right away she piped up. She's like, "I'm not a huge fan of cilantro at all. It's like getting your mouth washed out with soap."
Yeah, some people.
And I looked at her. I'm like, "It's odd you say that because tacos always bring me back to my childhood." So, like, that's true story. That's
Some people have that palate that the cilantro does taste like soap to them.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it does. I swore a lot when I was a kid.
Right?
Yeah.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was watching, was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago. You were on with, who was your guest there? Buddha.
Yep.
Week. And you weren't a fan of ribs.
I knew that was going to backfire.
I just have to bring that up. I'm not criticizing you for not being a fan of ribs, but I mean, that was probably the first thing I ever cooked when I first got my big green egg, or any smoker I ever had. I think ribs were the first thing that I put on.
Yeah. And
I kind of see what you're saying. You rather go into something else than, work on some ribs. But when And I got to admit, Pit Boss Gabe was never a big fan of ribs until we did. We got this rub from Dr. Door's Barbecue. She makes a fantastic rub. She's out of Jersey, and she had a buffalo chicken rub. And we're like, well, why don't we just make buffalo ribs? So we buffaloed the ribs, and then we dipped them in blue cheese, and it was that's all we do with our ribs now.
That sounds fantastic.
That's all we do.
What I was trying not to say, because I'll catch even more crap with it, is my favorite pork ribs I've ever done myself were like a steak spice, salt and pepper dry rib.
Okay.
And they caught the smoke just right. They were just very nice and dry, and they weren't sticky at all. They were quite clean and tasty. It reminded me of like the little deep fried garlic ribs, but they were whole spare ribs, right? They were quite nice. They were still very juicy, but just in spite of saying that, I had to do ribs the other day, which you'll see in a post very shortly. And I did them, and I nailed them, and I ate them, and I still don't like ribs. I don't know what it is. It's what I don't like barbecue sauce. I don't like a ton of barbecue sauce. To me, it's like
you're not a sweets guy, though. You don't like the candies, the sugars. I get that. And look, I'll be the first one to admit it myself. Okay, ribs are great, and I'm not here to criticize you or judge you for what you do and don't like.
Yep.
I don't like sports.
Yep.
I don't like sports. I don't watch football. I don't watch basketball. See?
Click.
Exactly.
Click.
I know, it's odd. It's odd. If poker's a sport, then I'm in, but I'm just not a big sports fanatic. I'm not a big fan. Well, maybe, living near the Miami Dolphins for so many years, that could do that to you, but
yeah, exactly.
But just not a big fan.
I like ribs, but there's things that I would eat over ribs. Like I would eat a big plate of wings before I might go for a rack of ribs.
Right.
And I hear you, Mel. One of a really good rack of ribs that I made not that long ago, my daughter wanted to put truffle salt on it. She goes, Jack, we make truffle ribs, and they were pork ribs, and I'm like, why not? We used a little bit of garlic powder, a decent amount of black pepper, and then I have this really good truffle salt from, I believe it's like San Francisco Salt Company. Their truffle salt's really good. It's got a really nice flavor to it. We put it on that, and we smoked them, and like just like Mel said, they really accepted that smoke. So you're biting these ribs and just tasting that little bit of pepper, but just that truffle flavor out of it, and it was pretty solid.
Yeah, man,
sounds good.
It's a weird thing. So, Chris, you missed the other half of that whole show. Buddha brought up smoking spare ribs, right? Splitting them, smoking them halfway, and then deep frying the finish and serving them with blue cheese or ranch.
Oh.
And right away I was like, that's the one. Now I want ribs. After explaining that, so you smoke the base, deep fry it, finish it. You could top that blue cheese and ranch. You could do like right before you deep fry it, you could do your buffalo seasoning. Now you've got like buffalo deep fried spare ribs. It'd be.
So I would take that a different way. I would smoke them, split them. I'd fire up the wok.
Yep.
And do more of like a sticky wing. So get like some sort of gochujang and
scallions,
and then hit it with some sesame seeds at the end. But like toss them in the wok so they're getting kind of essentially stir fried, but like with more of like a not necessarily sweet, but maybe a little sweet. I would probably put in a little bit of brown sugar, a little bit of that chili paste, some spice, some garlic, and do them that way too.
I've also done ribs on the Trompo King. I take each individual rib and I stack it. I drizzled it with goodies on it, but I see what you're saying, Mel. Though I mean, going back to the rib itself, there's so many other parts of the animal.
Yeah,
and
I've met some monster barbecue people that don't like briskets, or they don't like. It is what it is, right?
Right.
Some people don't like some people don't like fatty meat, but they're really good at barbecue. Well,
right.
It is what it is. Like, what are you going to do, right? That's it's kind of neat. It's like the gentlemen from Brazil, right? That are they love your picanha, right? But they don't like the fatty meat. They like the really lean, nice meat over the fire kind of thing, and they're really shying away from anything with fat in it. And it's crazy because that's where all the flavor is. But I get it. Like, I totally get it. Everyone's got a different palate. Everyone's
right.
and especially for us, it's in your face all the time. I grew up like Tony Roma's ribs, Montana's ribs, and they were not bad. And if they could get them not bad, then like there's other stuff that that's where like literally like there's only so much smoke, and then you're eating barbecue sauce on a stick, and watching how much rub people put on ribs, you're eating the rub. So it is what it is, right? Like we're talking about briskets with salt and pepper and garlic, and then letting the smoke penetrate and doing all kinds of. But when you see people putting a 1/4 inch of rub on a set of ribs,
good point.
Well, and I think there's a difference between ribs that you're cooking in your backyard and ribs that you're seeing people cook for competitions. Especially if you see those KCBS ribs. I mean, Mel, you're a judge. You've done this, but people pack so much flavor onto that one bite is because that's all the judges are going to take of your food. You got to realize that they're sitting down with 6 ribs, 6 things of brisket, 6 things of pork and chicken. So they're not going to be taking, they're not, well, if it's that good, they may eat the whole thing, but you want to make it so you give those judges that much flavor in one bite. So they do over season it, and they're, seasoning it. Gosh, I think they, people I knew seasoned their brisket 3 separate times in 3 separate directions.
Competition barbecue is so different. I am not a competition barbecue guy. I don't think I'd ever want to hit the circuit, but you're right. You have to impress the judge with how pretty it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to differentiate your taste from the other one that they just took a bite out of.
Yeah,
you have to be memorable.
Well, the one, and I will bring right back an actual moment in my judging. They had used, I believe, like a fermented peach or like a pickled peach on their ribs, and I ate the whole thing. And I don't even like peaches that much, but I ate the whole rib. And you'd figure I'd go down and mark a 9 on that because it's amazing. I liked it because it was different.
Right.
But we're not marking on different. We're marking on good barbecue. So the person that got my 9 was still the one that handed in the Tony Roma's rib. And that's the tricky part. Like when I'm eating pulled pork and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, this is spicy. I love it. Right. That's good for me, but it's not good for the card.
Right.
Because you have to have it like as a consistent barbecue, whatever, right? It's really weird thinking in that back end. And it sucks because there's a lot of judges that will mark hard on all kinds of crazy stuff. And you have to be like, look, you're going for the average of classic barbecue. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what Buddha said is it's so subjective. You're only as good as the judge makes you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can nail it year after year after year, and all of a sudden you're not, and you're doing the same exact thing year after year after year. So it's tough.
Yeah. And it comes down to I'm not interested in cooking something in a way that I don't want to eat it.
Yeah.
Right.
And and the other thing just to differentiate is that some of these home cooks who see how the pros are cooking for their barbecue comps, and they take that and go home. I mean, they need to recognize the difference of, when you're at home and cooking for your family, you don't need to season it like that. Otherwise, your family's going to eat it, or your neighbor's going to eat it, and they're going to be like, okay, this is way too salty. What are they thinking? You have to know the difference that if you guys are cooking this at home for yourselves, it's okay to salt your food, but just be cognizant of how much seasoning you're putting on, knowing that there's a difference between when you're going to sit down and eat a whole rack of ribs versus one bite of ribs.
Good point.
So there's the ribs again.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't saying it to judge you. I was just saying I had a point.
It was hilarious. I didn't even think about it. The next morning I woke up and there was like 10 messages on my phone. I was like, I knew it. That's like, and right away they're like, what? What's wrong with you? How could you not? And then you have to correct. And I should have explained it better. I didn't. I just like, bleh, and I said it, right? But yeah, it's so I made that rack and I ate that rack this week just to do it and just to like confirm in my head, why am I not really enjoying this? And they were fantastic. You'll see them bite through, very tasty.
Right.
Not my favorite. Not my favorite. That's it.
So when you eat ribs at home, do you prefer bite through ribs or do you like fall off the bone?
Bite through.
Yeah.
Bite through for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I like them tender, but I like them firm.
I think I would like them somewhere in between. Like I don't want to I want to be able to pick up the bone. Like I want to be able to slice them and just still have meat on the bone. Like, if I try to slice them and the bone falls out, that's probably a little bit overdone for my taste. Even though you could shred that, and the meat's going to be delicious. But I like it. I don't mind it if I take a bite out of it and half of it comes with me. I don't need to necessarily just see the bite through, but it needs to at least stick to the bone so I can pick up a rib. And do it.
Well,
that's part of the fun.
This last rack, they were actually pretty thick, which is why I jumped on them. I was like, God actually sent these to the suit. I was loading up on briskets, and God sent me these perfect racks for like dirt cheap, and I was like, now I have to do it. It was like everything, the stars aligned for these stupid ribs. So whatever. But the way that I did them, the finish was so nice. If you grabbed the bone and probably gave it a yank, it would have slid out.
Yep.
But cutting it, like as long as I'm nice on the top, it didn't tear at all. Cut nice straight through, and then bite clean. But if you gave it a tug sideways, it all would have came off.
Yep.
So I was super happy with that.
That's the sweet spot right there.
Yep. And that's the trick with, like, you watch Benny Kendrick. Benny Kendrick will make bang on ribs every single time. He's in there. He's spritzing. He knows right when he's wrapping, and he's doing the same thing. He's consistent, right? But he's babying those. We're not babying them nearly as much. Like when he's cooking those ribs, that's all he's doing.
Yeah, and my last set. I was doing yard work, and they got away from me, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm not wrapping this set. Didn't wrap them. I spritzed them like maybe once an hour because that's when I remembered it, and it turned out just fine. But yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that's with this rack. I took the time. I stayed next to the pit. I made sure I hit all the points where I needed them, banged them out. They were perfect for me. They were absolutely perfect. So, yeah,
that's about as much as you're gonna like a rib.
That's it. Yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. But I'll tell you what, I do love tacos. I love tacos like crazy. I have an honest question for you, Noam.
That's it.
What is the difference between a taco, a burrito, and a fajita? Because up here, I think they're all the same.
All right, that's a good question. Depends on how you wrap it. Now, I don't know the true definition of either three, but I could tell you, to me, a taco is crunchy. Okay. You have that crunchy tortilla shell, that the corn shell.
Yep.
A burrito, to me, is wrapped, filled, and then wrapped. And then a fajita is a soft, either flour or corn tortilla, and then you put your filling into it and you eat it like a taco shape.
Okay.
That's my definition. Now, it's different parts of the world have it different ways.
I think
different parts of the country have it different ways. That's just my definition of, the taco fajita burrito.
I think the fajita has to have that sizzling meat. The sizzling.
Right, and you fill it yourself. That's what I was saying. You take your flour tortilla or your corn tortilla, mostly flour with fajitas, and you put your sautéed onions, peppers, and chicken or steak or shrimp or whatever you want to put into it.
What does fajita mean?
Fajitas means a dish of Mexican origin consisting of strips of spiced chicken, chopped vegetables, and grated cheese, wrapped in a soft tortilla and often served with sour cream.
Sorry, my Siri
works for me.
An Australian lady.
That's fantastic.
I like her accent.
I love that.
I was kind of wondering what if there was a direct translation of fajita, like what that meant. If it was like with fire or something along those lines would be, make sense in my head. But yeah, I mean, I think
makes sense.
it's pretty darn close to the true definition of what Noam said.
Does Siri have an angry German lady?
Probably.
Then I'm getting an iPhone. That's it.
Probably.
Then I'm getting
multiple languages.
British and American. For sure.
I would love to get sworn at in German while I'm trying to get directions. That would be incredible for me.
I would love that on like a GPS.
Yes, I would be. You schlump, pay attention. Yeah,
Nine.
That would be so good, so good. No, yeah. So now we know roughly the difference. I really like burritos because they're big.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're like a donair, but they're Mexican, right?
And you can make a wet burrito. What I like is a wet burrito, where you fill the burrito, you wrap it, and then you throw another layer of sauce on top with more sour cream, and that's called a wet burrito.
Oh, wow.
Burrito sweet sauce.
Yeah. Well, I saw someone the other day, I think it was Super Skewer. He made tacos, dipped them in the birria sauce, and then griddled them till they were crispy. Oof. And I was like I could feel my heart going like, but at the same time, I was like, my stomach was going like, oh, that's insanity, man. Like I was like.
So we do those on my Blackstone, but we call them, my daughter's named them Taco Diaz. Because they're
nice.
Kind of similar to, a quesadilla and a taco. What I do is I'll take I do flour tortillas for this. And again, the same thing. I still have, I think I have one more packet of my Pastor, my Trompo King Pastor, already cooked and cubed up and in my freezer. So that's another weeknight meals. I'll take that out. And since I don't have time to sit and make, that good consomme all the time, what I can do for a quick consomme is I will quickly brown some chopped onions, add enchilada, like a can of the red enchilada sauce, and then thin that with stock. And then I'll add some cilantro, and that'll be my consomme. Real quick, real easy, but has flavor.
I had my grandma over here a couple weeks ago, and we had done the beef dip. And she was like, if you're going to throw that sauce out at the end there, why don't you pour it in a Ziploc bag and freeze it for me? And I was like, what? No, it has to go down the drain. You can't keep it. And then I'm staring at it. I'm like, this is smoked for hours, full of the essence of that eye of round with the onions that have sauteed with the peppers and everything. You use it to dip, sure, but like there's always leftover.
Mm-hmm. What's your ramen there?
Well, that's it. I'm going to do that with everything now.
Yeah, and I think you could put it in a glass mason jar as long as you had maybe that much space up top, and didn't put a top on it at first. Didn't cover it. Just was able to put it in the freezer, let it kind of come up to where it needed to come up, and consolidate, and then seal it and put it back in. That would work.
Man,
I got to bring up. There's this Mexican restaurant not too far from my house. And this just reminded me when you were talking about the dip. I had this dish called Chori Pollo Loco.
Oh.
And what they do is they take smoked chorizo, the Mexican chorizo, and they chop it up. They take the casing off. They fry it up with seasoned chicken, and they mix it with rice. And then you could throw that in a burrito. And I had to make it here because when chorizo and chicken come together with onions and peppers and all the goodness that goes with it, this was something. And this is in my rotation now. I did a post about 2 weeks back where I took the chicken on the Trompo King and then I stacked it with 6 pieces of chorizo.
Nice.
And the chorizo juices just went right into the chicken. And then I chopped everything up. And that's my new favorite.
You put some black beans in there or pinto beans or anything?
Didn't do beans, just did the rice, but we did, avocado, and we just it was just a menagerie of just goodness that went together. But I love chorizo. I love good chorizo.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I'll be making, I think, this fall when our pig season comes around. I may do like 100 pounds of chorizo and make
So
it.
good.
Yeah, I want to do 3 shades of chorizo, like you said. The Mexican chorizo different than the South American chorizo, right?
Right.
Um,
The Argentinian chorizo is super garlicky. If you like garlic, it hits you.
Yeah.
Hours later, you're rolling garlic.
I'm trying to think. The best chorizo I ever had came from our Italian center. But I'm not sure if it was South American or the Italians made it. I don't really know, but it was the spiciest chorizo I've ever had. And it was like a deep orangish red. Like it was a really pungent.
Sounds like a Brazilian chorizo, rather than like Argentinian or.
Yeah, it was like really funk. I'm going to go there, buy it, and just look at the ingredients and figure it out, because man, it blew my doors off. It was really spicy and like super flavorful and totally packed. Like the casing was just stuffed hard. It was.
I love that.
Almost like it was aged. You know what I mean? It was almost like they hung it like pastrami or salami or something. It was really.
I love chorizo. In different parts of the world, you can taste the different types of, not just sausage. I'm talking about the chorizo, where sometimes they cut up extra big chunks of fat, and it's a totally different dynamic whether you're pan frying or cast iron frying the chorizo versus putting it on a smoker for a couple hours, and then it gets nice and dark and super plump and firm, and then you're into that thing, and it's, what do they call in New Orleans? Like almost like a boudin. Like that color.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. Oh man, I love it.
I think that's on the menu for tomorrow. I got to do the chori pollo loco again.
Yeah. I'll keep an eye out for that, brother. I'll keep.
And then we put that for sure. Chihuahua cheese right on top. That's squeaky Chihuahua cheese.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love it.
That's awesome.
So I had to bring that up. That came to mind, and I had to bring up. Need some chorizo now. Yeah, still full from the schnitzel though.
That's one thing. So I've been watching my diet a little bit. I've been drinking a lot less this last little while, just kind of rebooting the old system a bit.
Right.
One thing that I have missed the most is those damn donairs, man. I haven't had a donair in like 2-3 weeks, and I'm like.
Itching for one.
Over it. I am itching for one bad. They're keeping me up at night for different reasons now.
They're screaming at you.
Yeah.
You got to be able to treat yourself every now and then.
Well, Chris, with the, you know what I mean. I had a bison T-bone for breakfast. Like,
okay,
it is what it is, right?
But
it's
bison's leaner than beef.
Well, no, this is. I'm trying to be picky about what I'm doing, but we're content monsters, man. You still have to cook. You still have to, and you can't pull it off the grill, cut it up, serve it, and then not even taste it. Right? It's crazy.
Have to taste it.
Yeah. Oh man, and smash burgers have been just chasing me all over town. Everywhere I go, someone's trying to throw a smash burger down my gullet now. It's crazy. I love it.
And I see smash burgers all on the gram and on Facebook. Everybody's smashing burgers right now. Of course, we had to do it the other night. And my favorite part of a smash burger is when those onions get super charred and that cheese, that crisp around the cheese gets super crispy around the smash burger. And then you bite into that crunch. You have that crunch of onion and crispy cheese. And then the meat gets nice and crispy and it's super thin. Oh, that's...
So do you
big
do
fan.
The Oklahoma way where you smash the thinly sliced raw onions on top of the burger and then flip it and let them kind of get seared as it cooks into the burger?
I didn't know that was an Oklahoma thing. I put my onions down first and then smash the meat into the onions.
Sure.
So I'll try it the other way next time.
Yeah, I don't like raw onions. I love them cooked and on burgers, but I'll eat them that way as long as I slice them thin enough. So I got to slice them thin where I, flip it over to cook the second side that they at least cook down a little bit. It's the texture of the raw onions that I don't like.
I love burnt onions. Mm-hmm. I love when the onions burn and the cheese burns into it and the meat, and it's just boom.
Yeah. Duke.
Cook your cheese first.
Yeah. Well, this is so one of the local places we got, Flatboy Burgers. And he's doing everything off the griddle, right? The flat top, doing amazing things, really trying to push the company out of almost like a ghost kitchen, right? And I fully appreciate it. And it's been a few weeks now since I've been there, but when I went there, they have a burger called You're Not That Guy. And it's a 6-patty burger with onions and their special sauce and cheese, the whole 9 yards, right? And you have to eat it in 6 minutes. And when he emailed me, I laughed. I was like, "Are you kidding? Like, don't be a punk here. This is no problem at all." And he's like, "No, trust me. I've had some pretty big boys in here, and they couldn't blah 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 blah." Showed up. I ate it on a tailgate, right? 3 minutes 30 seconds, and I wasn't even trying. I just like, I hunkered down and I ate it. But all of them were like. And then I had to say, like, have you seen my smash burgers? Like, we get stupid here. We get actually stupid. It's not.
You give them the "I am that guy, pal."
No, I did it. I am that guy, pal. And they give out the free T-shirt and stuff. I'm like, you're gonna want to get bigger T-shirts, bud. After my feed gets through with you, you're gonna want bigger T-shirts. That's. But it's crazy. It's like, I don't know. I could honestly, if I didn't give a shit about my health, I could be a competition eater, I think. Because of all of the years in the trades, you have this much time to eat your lunch.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's crazy how much I can scarf down knowing that I'm not going to eat again for like 4 or 6 hours and I'm going to work my ass off. So you have to eat that meal. Like you get to lunch, which is at 9:30 in the morning. You're already starving. Like you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that gift where I can just like scarf it down like a hungry dog, right? But then everyone's staring at you like, what the hell was that? Like, where did that come from? That's 1 minute you're talking, then the burger's gone, and now you're having a cigar. Like, what was that?
And that was the thing that we did too when I was, back in the day when I was a floor nurse. Yeah. It's like, okay, we have 5 minutes in our 13-hour day to eat. Yeah. And you can shovel it down. And then like, you're just in that mode and all of a sudden you're at home and you're like done eating 5 minutes into it. And like my daughter took one bite and you're like, oh yeah, slow down. Yeah. You got to slow down.
That's like, I'll make our little lunch containers, right? They're like 1 liter or 2 liter containers, round containers of glass, Pyrex, whatever, right? And I'll make a jambalaya for that. And when lunch hits, it's like, and all of a sudden you hear the bottom clink, clink, clink. And then I'm sitting there with the wife and the kids, right? And like you say, they've eaten two bites and you're done. And you're sitting there like, damn it, I did it again.
You eat the jambalaya so fast that the spice doesn't actually hit until you're done eating.
Yeah. And so like I've seen these taco eating contests now, right? And I'm thinking, like, that's a really good idea for me to take up because I could get down with, like, what do you think of Taco Bell? You guys have Taco Bell down there, right?
Plenty of Taco Bells. Yeah.
So
plenty of them.
The Taco Supreme is what, 69 cents or $1 or something like that?
Taco Supreme, the one with like sour cream and tomato on it's probably like $2.
Yeah, okay. It's a little bit more now.
Okay, yeah. So they're like $3 up here, but still.
I think you get a 12-pack. You get a 12-pack of crunchy tacos, I believe, for like $6 or $7. You get a whole 12-pack of them.
Could you eat that in like 10 minutes?
Oh yeah,
12 of them. Yeah,
did that in high school. Oh yeah,
that's awesome. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. That
was our spot. 2:00 in the morning. The club's closed, and you head over to Taco Bell. Oh. And everybody's outside just hanging out, eating tacos. And they were the best thing. They were great.
It was our comfort food. Now I get to the point where I eat it and I like, feel like shit afterwards. But I mean, I'll still eat it.
Right. I'll never forget.
It's definitely our comfort food.
Back in the day, the wife, like, she used to party before the kids and stuff. She used to be a lot of fun. And her really bad hangovers, that's what I'd get. I'd get just one eye peeking out under the comforter, and she'd be like, can you go to Taco Bell?
Yep.
And that'd be it. I'd be like, all right, regulators, mount up, we're going. And they'd be like, here's a $50 sack of Taco Bell on the king-size bed. Clunk. There you go. Right? Climb out of here when you're ready, right?
You nailed it, Chris. You said it's comfort food. That's exactly what it is.
There's just something about it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I miss those days. I think that's what donairs are for me. They're my comfort food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have some really good shops though in Canada where you're at that we don't have them down here. Very rarely do we find something decent.
So there's actually a backstory to this whole donair thing. East coast of Canada invented the donair. Halifax, I believe, is where it was actually invented. And it was a cross between a gyro and a gyro or something like this. It was half Greek, half like, I want to say Lebanese or Iraqi.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was a cross between the two, and it was like out in the East Coast, so it was like a fishing community. And their sweet sauce that they came up with, like, was essentially out of what their grandmothers used for coffee. And they just happened upon this recipe, and then they made like a chain out of it, and now like Canada is the donair capital of the world. So
do they make the pizza? Do they make the donair pizza too? That you showed me? Yeah, they make the pizza as well.
Oh yeah, and it's crazy how that like evolved and morphed across the country, and now it's like starting to get, and it's a rendition of something that's served in so many different countries with so many different names.
And that's how food trends start, really. You know, the Lebanese migrated to Mexico City, and they came up with tacos al pastor. Well, they influenced the donair, the shawarma, and they influenced. And here you have a new food that's born. It's still a spinoff of something else. Yeah. But I love that. I love the origins of food. You know, when I used to watch Andrew Zimmern on TV, and he would travel the world and try all sorts of weird stuff, he also talks about the origins of the food and how it was created and how it's crafted and how many generations taught their kids and their kids and their kids how to make this specific food. And I love it. And I tried some weird shit.
This is what it. So when I lived in Mill Woods, it's a very ethnic community. Lots of really neat people living there. Their donairs, they're out of home style donair back in, we're talking about the 90s, maybe early 2000s. This tiny donair shop, the day he opened, it was his grand opening. I walked up to him, I shook his hand, and I said, if you do me right on this one, you will have a shareholder for life, brother. And he was like, we're good. And I went and saw him twice a week for years and years, right? But as I got to know him, it wasn't just donairs he was selling, but to people like myself, it was a donair shop. You didn't know he did anything else.
Right.
All of a sudden, one day, just out of nowhere, he's like, do you like goat? And he's expecting me to start laughing. I'm like, yeah, I'd try it. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I found out he's been doing like rotisserie goats in the back for the entire time. And just never talked about it because it was like his people dealt with him and got this stuff it was totally different. And I was like, why don't you tell people? Like,
and how good was that? How good was it?
It was amazing. No, and that was so every time I went, he's like, I got something hold on, I'll grab you a bite. And like right away, I'm like, well, when's that done? I'll come back for a couple pounds of that. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. And it was really neat to see because he was like not trying to share it because he was, I don't know, not ashamed of it, but it was like not for me. You know what I mean? Right. And then when he found out I loved it, he was like, do you think other people would like this? I'm like, fuck yeah, they would, man. You gotta just wear it on your sleeve and let people know they're not gonna not come here for donairs because you're cooking goat. It makes part of that cuisine, man. Why wouldn't you?
So I got a story about goat. My first time really trying a goat, I was in the Middle East. I was 19 years old on a trip going through Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, and just all the way through the Mideast.
Yep.
And I'm traveling with this group of friends, and we sign up for this. It's called a Bedouin, a week with a Bedouin. They're nomads that live in the desert. I'm like, cool. We'll go through the desert. We took ATVs out there. We ride out to the camp, and they say, well, we have a special dinner prepared for you. So we go in their huge tent that they have. They live out in the desert. I believe it was the Bedouin people. And they have hot coals, charcoal, on the ground inside the teepee sort of thing, if you want to call it. And the head guy comes out and he goes, "You're our guests." Takes a shovel. He takes the coal off, and there's a huge goat under the coal.
Yep.
Takes his hand and he scoops the eyeball, raises it in the air, and he says, "You're the guest of honor, and you have to eat the eyeball."
Yeah.
You have to do it, man. If not, it's a big insult.
Yep.
So I did. That was my first introduction to goat. And that leg, when he pulled that leg, it was unbelievable. It was cooking there for like 2 days.
Yeah.
With all the spices. And I was ready for dessert because that was such a heavy, heavy meal, full of spices. And you know what they passed around for dessert? This is no joke. A mint leaf. That's your dessert.
Yeah.
I was fucking disappointed. I got to tell you, I was pissed about that part. A mint leaf. I needed like a big bowl of ice cream after that. Mm-hmm. But that was my experience. And yeah, your introduction is here. You get to eat this goat eyeball, and if you don't, you're kicked out of the teepee. Basically, I didn't want to insult anybody. And then you have to burp really loud when you're done. That's a given. You have to. It was a very, very awesome experience that I had.
That's very cool, man. That's
fantastic.
That is the whole heart of what we're doing here. If I could be so lucky to have an event like that happen to me in South America, right? If I could maybe go to Guyana or something and have that same experience, that is exactly what this whole thing is about. Like, not being shy, getting your feet dirty, getting your hands dirty, digging right into it. Oh, I love that, man. Absolutely.
My wife and I used to travel 300 miles round trip just to go eat dinner somewhere that we liked.
Yep.
It's crazy, but we would travel, and we're foodies. I mean, we travel, and before COVID and before the lockdowns and everything, that's what we do. South America, West Indies. West Indies happened. I love spicy food. Oh. And when we go to the West Indies, they like it hot. They have a pepper sauce. They have like a container on every table. And this blows your doors off. I mean, I remember you were talking about some breakfast burrito that you had that hurt you.
Yeah.
This is on everything. And they made us another experience that I had with goat is they made this goat stew that literally when they're cooking it, and when we travel, we try not to be tourists. We look like tourists, but we hire a local tour guide who takes us to his mom's house or takes us to grandma's house. Yep. And she's cooking this big, huge pot of goat stew. And there's nice chunks of goat. And you couldn't even be in the kitchen because the spices in there were burning your eyes.
Yeah.
Breathing in like fire. But this was so good. She's like, usually people from America can't take the spice. I'm like, just keep it coming. I'm sweating. I'm in tears. But it was so good. And we love experience. We stop on the side of the road. And this was great. We were in St. Kitts 3 years ago. And, Gabe and Seth are like, "Dad, we're hungry. Let's go eat." And we see a little tiny reverse we see a little reverse flow smoker on the side of the road. No guy there, but it's going. Yeah. And I tell our guy, "Let's stop here. What is this? Let's go give it a try." Didn't see the guy. So we stop, we pull over. And I know never to touch another man's barbecue. I know that without permission. So I'm just, I'm kind of smelling, and it smells like he's got fish, he's got some chicken in there. And I'm like, "Where is the guy?" He comes out of the water. He's butt ass naked. Walks up to the smoker. He goes, "Sorry, man, it was too hot. I had to go cool off." And he's preparing our food. We had a plate of rice and beans. He made us some fresh caught snapper that he just caught, some fresh chicken. And it was just a plate. Maybe it was $2.
Oh, I love it.
We go experience different food, around the world. And I happen to love Middle Eastern food, Greek food, and then probably West Indies or something like, because it's a mix of Indian food and you have the Caribbean. So it's like Indian Caribbean food all mixed together.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing. I
love doing it. So I can't wait till you come down here, guys, because I have a couple holes in the wall which produce the best food. From Chinese to Greek to a little Mexican place like I told you about. They're holes in the wall, but they pump out some of the best food, the best tasting food ever.
That sounds amazing.
I'm going to go grab a drink, guys. I'll be right back. Give me 2 minutes.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. So that's a problem that I have with the wife all the time. When I'm on a good heater cooking a curry in the house, And all of a sudden, she's like, "For fuck's sake, Mel, we have kids." And she's shutting the doors in the kitchen, right? And opening she's like, "It's like pepper spray. Don't you notice?" And I'm like, No, I don't. And she's like, "I can feel the pepper on my face, like it's too hot." And that's when I'm like, okay, so this one's just for me, but it's going to be freaking gnarly. Like, it's going to be good.
It's not for everybody.
No,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, I love that style of food, man. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So what are you tossing in your curry when you cook it then?
Kashmiri chili powder. I absolutely love Kashmiri chili powder. Very nice. I like fresh cardamom. I'll finish it off with like a fenugreek. I get real funky with my seasonings and stuff. I try and dig through.
Okay.
Everyone is different. Yeah, I stick to the plan, and then I go way off the rails every time, right?
Sure.
It's like my butter chickens. No butter chicken's ever the same. Best one I ever tasted had roasted almonds in it and raisins. And you cook it for a long while with raisins and toasted almonds. It's like incredible. And when you first started out with the garlic and the onions over the oil, and then you add the tomato paste and you cook it down, like, and everything kind of, yeah, I'm a huge fan of the curries, man. Huge fan of the curries. I really like how, hey, Elvis is eating a remote control truck right now. Yeah. He's such a jerk. So how was your day? Tell us about your day. You okay? You coming down?
Yeah, it was good. It was a busy day.
Yeah.
But I'm done. So I'm at home. Get to talk with all y'all lovely people.
How was your vacation? Was it nice?
Oh, it was nice. Yeah.
It looked really nice.
Learned some stuff at the conference. I did go to the conference, but yeah, Charleston is my wife and my favorite place to go. We've been there a lot in the last 10 years, probably 8 times or so. But yeah, so we have our places where we want to go. We had some amazing food. Husk in Charleston. It was the restaurant where Sean Brock used to work.
Nice.
He kind of pulled out of there, and he's doing his own thing now in Nashville. But they kind of kept the essence of it, where they changed their menu. Their dinner menu they don't post until like 4:00 that night, because it's whatever fresh ingredients that they find. How they mix it in with what they do. They may have similar main dishes, but the sides and stuff will change daily based on whatever is fresh and in the South.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, this appetizer that they had was fantastic. It's something that I want to make. Like, they made some house cured pastrami, but they made it out of, now the waiter told me it was out of like a tenderloin. And I believe it. It was similar to that shape. It was pretty well marbled. And he said it was connected to the strip loins. I think it was, more or less, somewhere over there.
Yeah.
But they cured it, they smoked it, they sous vide it, and then I think they wrapped it in cheesecloth and hung it down in their wine cellar like they would like a pastrami. Then they shaved it. Okay, so you had this shaved pastrami was the base. These fresh marinated figs were on there then. They had some whipped cheese that was made by Monks in Charleston that was on there then too. Drizzled it with hot honey and then had the mustard seeds on it. That appetizer was fantastic.
Oh, man. That sounds amazing.
The combination was one of the best things I've ever eaten.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love when people pastrami stuff that's not pastrami. That makes me so happy.
I already told my wife, I'm like, I want to do this because, as I'm eating the pastrami, I'm like, I got the feeling of, since it was so thinly sliced, I'm like, this is kind of like salami too, in a way. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy a tenderloin. I'm going to cure it, smoke it, sous vide it, and then put it on my meat slicer. Then get these little packages of this, even if I don't do it in this whole entire appetizer, but we like having charcuterie boards when we sit outside on our patio. I'm like, they'll be fine to just kind of pick at and eat. Fantastic.
And that's let's call a spade here. When people are doing pastrami dino ribs, it's too rich. If someone handed you one whole dino rib that was pastramied,
right,
it would be way too rich for you to finish. A couple bites and you'd be like, I'm tapping out. This is too much.
Right.
So
if it's done
when I see those, I'm like, that's great and all, but you're not finishing that. You're not.
Because it should be salty. It should leave you like afterwards. But yeah, exactly. So when I had this like super thinly sliced, I'm like, that's perfect. Why have I not done this before? Why is it not sold like this in stores?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I love that. And that's Oh.
So that's gonna be my issue. And then I can't find fresh figs up here in Wisconsin. I can get the like the preserved figs, or like they're essentially
the dried ones.
Yeah. So I was looking that up, and I'm like, well, can I grow figs here? And I guess you can grow them in containers, and they would just have to be brought in during the winter. And I'm like, you know what, my garage doesn't freeze. Like I keep, like, our water will be out there all winter long, and I mean it gets cold. It's really cold, but it doesn't freeze. So I'm like, if I just put a couple of containers there, I could get a little UV grow light. I can grow figs. My boss did that with a Meyer lemon tree. He's like, yeah, it works really well. I'm like, yeah. He goes, the only downside is it takes 6 months for the lemons to, mature. I'm like, well, they're 50 cents.
You have to excuse the noises that are happening right there.
I was gonna say, is he humping something? No.
Yeah, he got a remote control truck that he's giving the high hard one over there. I'm not gonna flip it around, but this damn dog, man.
Bulldogs.
Yeah, he's just whatever I don't want him to do. He's like, I'm done. I'm doing this. That's what I'm doing now. He's gonna hump the batteries out of it. Probably is what's happening. But that's fine.
Oh, good for him.
That's something that we never talk about, but I am 100% down with those beautiful charcuterie boards.
Mm-hmm.
I put up just a quick little story jump in there a couple days ago. I tried that Nonay Chaga cheddar that he sent me home with from that beautiful dairy farm that I was at with the Wagyu Holsteins, right?
Yeah.
And like the samples he gave me there were amazing, but the stuff he sent me home with, holy crap, it was good. Like I was just taken back. He's doing the traditional artisan's cheese factory. Mm-hmm. So his cheese curds are like hard and squeaky, but rubbery and bouncy. Like he's doing it all right. And I'm not a huge cheese fan, but I'll rip into it every once in a while. And I took a few slices out of that, and I was like, and that's all I could think. Me and the wife need to sit down, like throw the kids a ton of NyQuil, knock them right out, and then come out here and just have a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
And just take some time, right? Oh,
it's probably my second favorite dinner. If I'm not barbecuing or making tacos, if I could just sit down to some olives and some really good cured meats and a couple crackers and hit a little bit of honeycomb on that. Love it.
Yeah, we found some really awesome 7 and 10 year age cheddar.
Cool.
That it's just like, the flavor of it's fantastic, but even just the texture then. It's got that, coarser texture, not quite like, your Parmigiano and stuff like that, but it's going to be more dense. It's harder. You get some of that, and you get that flavor. Then I like to mix it up with, like maybe a creamier Gouda, that just gives you that little bite of just that different texture. Some flavor, not a huge flavor, but yeah, I mean, and then you get the saltiness of a nice soppressata or salami or prosciutto.
Gabagool. Get some gabagool.
Got to get the gabagool.
Yeah,
that's my man. Like the spicy Genoa, right?
Yeah,
prosciutto. Like I go right. I go buck wild when I get into the Italian deli. Like it's not good for me. I should not be there left alone because I hammer so hard on that. And then right away I'm like, no, this is going on a platter, so make it a bit thicker, right? and then they have to readjust their slicer, and right away I'm like, just grab 2 of everything. Grab 2 of everything, and we'll do like, oh, I panic so bad.
I love the ones that have those big, like, dark seeds that are in it. And,
or
the big peppercorns. And
yeah, there's a place local here that does Muley's. I think they do a summer sausage. They hang it in like a midge bag, and they have whole peppercorns in there that are fresh from God knows where. And when you get those sliced, and I ask them to slice them almost like a 16th, if not a bit thicker, right? So that like they're thick, and you hit that peppercorn, man. Oh, it
lights you up, and it's delicious, nutty, powerful.
Yeah. I like those summer sausages too that have that, and then they have the whole like mustard seeds in them too.
Yeah,
like when you're eating the summer sausage and you get that bite where you bite through that whole mustard seed. Oh, buddy.
Yeah, I love just food that you can just pick at, and that's why tacos. You're eating the handle.
Yeah,
it's one of the most it's the best thing in the world. Just like eating a gyro or donair, you're eating your handle. You eat the handle, what you hold it with. It wraps everything perfectly. Love it.
Right? It's funny you say that. So when we did the tacos, and the wife had a few friends over and stuff like that, and everyone was taking in the tacos that I did, the fish tacos, shrimp tacos, chicken tacos, whatever, right? And as soon as they got them in their hands, everyone's like, oh, this is so messy, and it's dropping everywhere and doing.
That's the point.
I'm looking at them, I'm like, what's the matter for you? You never eat a taco before? You put it in, and you fold it, and you hold it, and look, in your mouth, see? And everything's still together, and they're all looking at me like, what kind of magic are you doing here? And I'm like, well, what do you...
Right.
You eat it over the plate, and then you just take the tortilla chips and just dip it all up then, and
Mel's like me, though. Me and Mel, we don't leave droppings.
No,
that's Mel. Every time.
I find a way for my hand to hold it shut enough,
right,
and get my mouth around the rest, and then it's like 3 bites. We're in business here. This is, I couldn't believe how messy they were right away. I was like, I spent some time on those tortillas, and you're really making a massacre out of this stuff here. This is. Yeah, it's just funny.
Have a little local shop that I could go pick up the 3-inch flour, homemade 3-inch flour street tacos. So they're this big, and they're just, one fold and boom, it's one shot.
Yep.
And you do 8, 10, 12 of those, and it's, you put a little bit of meat, a little bit of cheese, a little sour cream, whatever you want in it, a little guacamole.
Yep.
And it's perfect. Love the street tacos.
Well, that's when, I was looking at making a taco toaster for the big green egg that sits just right on top of the grill.
Yep.
With a handle, and you put it in between. So you put the liquid in there, you shut it, it toasts it while it cooks it, bang, you end up with like a 4 to 5 inch perfect shell every time, right? Like that's, as soon as I saw the design for that, I was like, oh, that's too nice. Like that's quite easy. And just with a welding glove, right? And away you go. Oh,
right.
Man, I'm like that. That's something like you could get creative making your own mixes to make bags to freeze. Like you could,
I've made fresh pita.
Oh, buddy.
I've made fresh pita right on the, it's 3 ingredients, and then it's just the way you pop it in there, like naan bread you could do on the egg.
Yep.
Easily.
Yep. Well, I've heard of guys putting pizza stones on an angle and doing tandoori, doing naan bread.
The naan bread, You just throw it right on there, and it's ready in 30 seconds. You're done.
Yeah, I was like, that's actually like insanely genius. He's like, I'll tuck it this way in my grill and toss it up on there, and away you go. And I was like, wow, that's
I'll never forget part of my trip when I was in Israel and going further south. Where the Bedouins are. You continue further south, and they had a yogurt called lebne. So it was more of like a Lebanese thing, but it was lebne. So what they did is there was always a pregnant woman making this huge pita, huge, probably a 14-inch in diameter pita on her belly because she's pregnant. And it's super thin, and they throw it into this hot kiln, and it comes out, like almost looking like a pizza, just like a pizza dough part that's fully cooked. And then they put this yogurt, this very thick yogurt on it, and then they put sumac and za'atar, which is a Middle Eastern spice, and then they roll it. So you have this burrito that's, that long, basically, but super thin.
Yeah.
And it was a heck of a snack. I remember it being $1. I'm like, it's $1. It's $1.
Yeah.
And you travel with it, and it's like you're supposed to pick at it through the day. And I love fresh baked bread like that.
Oh man, I see. It's funny you say that. So the sumac and the za'atar at my superstore, my local like grocery store, they have the wholesale spices aisle, and they have cans, like proper cans of that, just right there. Like you don't have to look for it or not. It's right. And I could get lost down there. I always, if I don't know what it is, I won't even Google it. I'll buy it and then hope I figure it out. Like it's.
Well, you just crack the can open and you could smell, fresh parsley and the sumac and the sesame seeds that go on it. And if you toast it, if you try this, go grab a the Iraqis and the Iranians make a huge, huge pita. It's 12 to 14 inches. Throw that on the egg for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, get it nice and crispy. Go buy some lebne, which is that yogurt, like a thick yogurt spread.
Yep.
And then you throw some za'atar on it and just roll it up, and you have a feast. It's so simple, but the flavors are just so impactful. It's you get the tartness from the yogurt, and then you have the sumac, and the za'atar, which is basically parsley, dried bay leaves, basil, oregano, and some sesame seeds, and those sesame seeds get nice and toasty. I love it.
Yeah. Oh,
like I said, I'm food. I love food from around the world. Even, when I was in New York, I had Ethiopian food, which is like a bowl of porridge, very little protein, a lot of carbohydrates, and that was delicious.
Yep.
Just love traveling and trying different foods from around the world.
Yep. Well, it's funny. So at work, a brother of mine, he's from Guyana, and I was bugging him. I'm like, get your wife to make me something traditional, bring it to work. He's like, I don't know, blah blah blah, right? So finally he brought this, like, it was a curried chicken with like pressure cooked yams. And he's like, this is sort of my staple. It's a bit weird. It's whatever. Like, I don't know if you're going to like it or what. And as soon as it hit my lips, I was like, bang, like just hammered. And he's like, I didn't think you'd like it that much because I brought enough for everybody, but you just ate it.
Gone.
Like, you should have told me like that this was like take a little bit. He's like, yeah, we usually don't pick out like that.
Right.
I'm terribly sorry. I thought this was all for me. I didn't know that was. Yeah,
all gone.
He had a blast though. He's like, yeah, no, we'll make more, we'll whatever, right? But that's.
But if you look at like different countries, Guyana or India or Middle East, Iran, Iraq, wherever you want to be, the family sits together, and that's food will bring the world together.
100%.
You break bread with your enemy, and you sit down and have a feast, whether it's barbecue or whether it's their native food, our native food, burgers, whatever it is. There's something special that occurs with that, and that will bring it together.
Yeah. Well, so when I went and saw that Roadrunner, right, with Anthony Bourdain, that was one of the. It was amazing. It was like, we'll talk about this after the show. It was really good. It was really good. But one of the quotes that they have turned into a meme well before this, I don't have to like you to respect you. And his thing was sitting down with chefs that he doesn't like his people, but he respects their game and how they cook. And this is where you end up sitting down at a table with someone you'd never sit down with and truly respecting everything that's happening in front of you. And that is like the pinnacle of what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Even like countries at war can sit down to a long table and eat and discuss common things with respect, with food on the table. It's a very powerful thing, and a lot of people don't see it or appreciate it, but it's really happening all the time.
It's getting to the table that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But once you get there, and you have, that feast, and you open your mind a little bit because, the guy was timid to say, hey, I have goats roasting in the back.
Yeah.
Some people would be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Us, we'd be like, yeah, take me to the back. I want to try it all.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to me. I'll run it.
I'm going to put up a post here pretty quick. That's probably going to blow me a couple hundred followers, but that's okay. I got a hold of some very fresh, very fine chicken feet that I'm going to be doing on the Big Green Egg. And I am so pumped. I am so pumped. They came from a Vietnamese lady that has been marinating them for like a week. Ooh. In her own, so I'm going to slow cook them, stew them down, do the whole 9 yards over the charcoal, probably Dutch oven or something. But it's going to be one of those posts where all of my guys are going to be like, this isn't brisket, click,
Save those drippings.
Yeah.
For your ramen broth.
Oh, buddy.
We were in Jamaica a couple years back, and we stopped at a side road, and I wanted to try the chicken feet, the roasted chicken feet.
Yeah.
It's gelatinous. It's delicious. The flavor is good. I just couldn't get over the nails. I couldn't get over I couldn't do it after that. I when I started looking at the nails, I'm like, I just can't. I couldn't get past that part, but the flavor, because I love bone marrow. You give me bone marrow, I could eat, bone marrow after bone marrow. And it has that texture and it has that gelatinous, and it brings on any flavor they stew it in.
Yeah.
It's delicious. But then when you see the claw, and you're like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of collagen in chicken feet too. So it actually is a very common ingredient that people will make in their chicken stock or chicken broth, because it will leach out some of that collagen and flavor into it.
The flavor is in the texture I enjoyed.
Yeah, it's just the claws, the nails.
Yeah, the nails, the talons. Couldn't. And I've tried a lot of different foods. I'll try it. Hey, I'll run it.
Yep.
There's very few foods that I don't like. Very few.
Yeah, it's all a bit of a curve, man. It's all like you said with the eye, right? In my family, there's a very specific thing. It's head cheese. The Ukrainians make a very nice head cheese. My dad when my dad was a kid, he saw head cheese made in the most primitive way out at the farm, and it scarred him for life. My dad's 70-something now. And if you put head cheese on the Christmas dinner table, he'll get up and walk away. He's done. He's not having it. So as melodramatic as he is about it, we don't serve it, whatever. But me and Bubba, who's 95, will gladly sit down to a plate of cold head cheese any given day. We absolutely love it.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, man, because it's like, sure, you don't like what you saw, but have you tasted the shit? It's fantastic. How could you not want this? It's just funny because I know my dad, if he was welding something and the slag burnt into his boot, he'd still finish his weld. He's a tough mother, but this head cheese turns him into a little schoolgirl. He gets up and he's done. He's just done.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a funny thing, but man, heavy garlics, right? Really gelatinous, really just so full of flavor. Oh,
right. Any body part that they could throw in there.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, the scraps.
Yeah.
I love
no
it.
Waste. No waste.
None, not back then at least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love the old farmhouse way of doing things, right? That's another one. So people are really turning to the tallow now, which we've done for forever. Right. We've made jars of tallow that you can keep under the sink. And now they're saying you have to keep it in the fridge or whatever. It's not safe to keep it under the sink, which it is what it is. I get you have to be within regulations of whatever, but I never thought of keeping brisket tallow to age my meat. Now I can dip my meat in that tallow and then age it, and I won't lose any trimming.
Right.
Well, that's a huge money saver because every time I age a 7-bone prime rib, I lose 30% of it. Yeah. So if I could dip that whole thing in a cooler full of hot tallow, I'm winning. So now that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save all my brisket trim. I'll buy another fridge for the brisket trim so that I can make tallow to make aged prime ribs.
Yeah, I mean, the big movement is now to go more natural, get off the vegetable oils, which are, highly processed, and here you go, you have tallow. And ghee, tallow and ghee, and that's what they've been cooking with for forever.
Yeah, man, so my mom, growing up on the farm, they didn't have power until she was like in her 20s. That's how out in the middle of nowhere it is out here, right? Like you can be 50 kilometers out of Edmonton and have like no power. There's still no septic lines run. Like you have an outhouse. It's crazy. But out there where she was, out past Wetaskiwin, they used to process a couple pigs a year that they would raise, and one pig they would save all of those trimmings and turn it to tallow for cooking. So they'd have their lards. They'd have their lards for cooking and doing, and she was explaining to me the pastries, the puff pastries that would come from this lard. And now I'm watching chefs on the Food Network that are like, man, if I could just get better shortening, this wouldn't be such a... And I'm chuckling to myself because they used to do it for free.
Right. Like, you left it, it was scraps, yeah.
Yeah. Like everyone's gone so far forward that they've forgotten where it started.
There's no better flavor for anything than pig fat.
Yeah.
Pig fat is the best.
Oh. Crazy.
Can I take 2 minutes here to show the new Trompo King Mini?
Heck yeah, brother. I want to see it.
Well, you should have had yours by now, but UPS.
Is this the one hung up at Customs?
This is the one hung up at Customs. For whatever reason, they have a problem with it.
Yeah, they don't like me. That's what it is. Oh, nice.
So that's the 8-inch Mini.
Yep.
There we go.
It's got the laser etched Trompo King logo.
Yep, and it also has spike.
Oh, nice.
So there we go. We have our 8-inch Mini.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
The workmanship and the quality came out so good. I'm really pleased with this product. And the reason why we kind of went to a mini model was some people have smaller grills, especially the Webers, and I love my Weber. And some people have the shorter Traegers or the smaller Traegers, and you still want to use a 7-inch spike, or you want to use your 12-inch spike that comes with the regular Trompo King.
Yep.
But it's about a ½ inch too tall.
Yep.
So now you can do 2 minis or 3 minis, and the price point's right. We listened to what people wanted. They wanted a better price point and a little smaller unit that you could travel with, and now you can travel with the Trompo King. You don't have to worry about the handles. This goes right in the Mini Max.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly.
Yep.
Because when we added the handles, it excluded the Mini Max. So here we are. And Chris, yours is going to ship this week also.
Very cool. Where can people find that, Gnome?
So TrompoKing.com, and we actually, now it's on Amazon. I think there's only one left. We shipped them a pallet and it's gone.
Awesome. I don't doubt it, man. Like, your Trompos are amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
That Mini's going to be a huge hit. Huge hit.
Well, we had a big problem. I mean, some of this was brainstormed because there's about 22 different knockoffs now. They don't call Trompo King. We went after them, but they have a similar idea. And a couple of groups were infringing on the trademark and the patent. So we were never listed with Amazon because we knew something like this would happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So we ordered a whole bunch of them. Our YouTube's full of all the knockoffs, and they're basically one-time uses for $30. Trompo King comes with a lifetime warranty. Yep. So anytime you're not going to have any warping or you're not going to have any issues, but if you do, we'll replace it free of charge, the shipping. So we knocked a lot of those guys out with our Trompo King Minis. They were selling a 4-inch plate welded with a spike for $30, and you only get one-time use, and it wasn't even 304 stainless.
Yeah,
I mean, Mel, you're in the industry of metals. You understand that cook with certain metals.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
and the lead, you can kill your family with that. So, yeah, we're on Amazon. We're on TrompoKing.com.
Awesome.
So
we changed the box.
So what is the Trompo King made out of? What type of metal are you using for that?
It's a commercial grade 304 stainless.
Yep.
That's awesome. I love my Trompo King. I have some OCD when it comes to cleaning my cooking utensils or pans or whatever. And I will tell you that after a couple of uses, I can get that thing looking brand new. It's great.
I'll teach you what I use. I use 2 tablespoons of baking soda. And it's stainless steel. It's not going to get hurt. Scrub it. You don't have to scrub hard.
No.
And it polishes like it's brand new.
It does.
Yep.
And it looks
You
great.
could use Barkeeper's Friend. Scrub Daddy came out with something called Scrub Mama, which is like a little tub. It's a good friend of mine, Scrub Daddy. And he has one that it's like a little paste that goes on, a little abrasive paste, and it polishes like it's brand new.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I love about the Trompo King too, which I think is something that you don't see from other places, that it's going to be tarnished and you're not going to get that look, but you can do that with this.
I've cooked on this one at least a dozen times already.
Yeah.
And that's how, and it's dishwasher safe and you're good to go. So the minis are blowing out the door.
My helpful little trick is when you dump the juices out of whatever you're cooking, before you finish it up, toss a little bit of beer, White Claw, or whatever you got on hand, maybe some water, right? And just let it sit in there red hot for a bit, right? Before you pull it off and clean it. And most of that comes out right there. It lifts off and
Yeah, you're not going to kill 304 stainless. I mean, this is a legacy, basically. You're going to pass on the generation. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Your kids will be cooking on it with no problem. We also have our Pecan Seasoning, and we could debate this all night.
Yep.
Mel, Pecan is the king of steaks.
It is. It is.
I know you like your ribeye.
It's up there. It's way up there.
So
top 3 for sure.
So traditionally, the Argentinians and the Latin Americans, they cook their picanha just with salt, with a good, coarse, kosher salt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I wanted to add a little twist to it. I'm not trying to change traditions, but we actually infused kosher salt. It's infused with flavors, parsley, garlic, onion. So it's an infused salt. So you're not losing anything. Yep. You're adding more flavor, and that's the way I like my picanha.
Yeah.
I don't like, sometimes when you put pepper or garlic or onion in your cooking, it kind of burns a little bit, and you get a char flavor. I prefer mine just in the infused salt, and then I lightly put this on the picanha, but then I hit it a good amount when it's done cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's one problem that I have with the dried herbs, especially with steak. If you load up a steak with all these dried herbs, it's going to char, lose its flavor, and not have that brightness.
Right.
But I think what you're accomplishing here is you're still getting those flavors, but you're infusing it into the salt. And again, I haven't tried this, but I'm thinking, I just imagine that it's going to be the kind of thing where, especially when you sprinkle that on when that's finished, it's going to start to kind of melt into the steak itself or into the meat, and you're going to have that kind of just diffuse. But yet when you eat that, you're going to bite in that and still get those crystals that kind of release that extra flavor as you do it. I think that's a genius idea.
I'll make sure with the mini you'll get the picanha seasoning.
I think that idea is just fantastic. Great job.
Thank you. And I didn't want to get into the spice business. I didn't want to get into the barbecue business. This just happened because it happened. I'm busy, but barbecue was a way to channel my energies and enjoy something, and that's why I love barbecue so much. But I didn't want to get into the spice game. But when you're making a tacos al pastor, sometimes you need 14 ingredients to truly make the authentic flavor, and that's why our co-packer and the ingredient list that I got and the recipe I got from great grandma down in Mexico City, I was able to harness that with a co-packer. Like I said, it took almost 3 years to get the formula right, where I could open it up and say, this tastes good. But we don't use any preservatives. We don't use any MSG. We don't use anything artificial. You know, you can see like it's kind of caking up a little bit. It doesn't harm the flavor of it whatsoever, but we don't use any preservatives to, you know, like an anti-caking agent.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that. That's one big thing, and I try not to preach about this too much, but like me and Chris, we end up talking about it almost every episode. I'm a huge fan of the sea salts that are infused. I do not like we had talked about before we came on here. I did the Malcolm Reed AP rub on something that I was doing here, and it was mostly salt and MSG.
Right.
With like dried powdered garlic and like soy, whatever. Like it was just a bunch of filler shit. Like it was actually a lot of. I'm not talking down about it. He's won many awards and whatever. But when I'm using my infused salts, there's nothing. There's no remnants of almost anything left on the meat. Just the flavor.
Mm-hmm. But there's a difference here, Mel, and there's a lot of people out there that have an amazing recipe for whatever they're using, and when they write their ingredient list and then they go to their co-packer, it's totally different. It took it took over 70 formulas to get the al pastor right. 70 in the mail, back and forth. It doesn't taste right. It's not right. And I'm a stickler for it, but we're charging, you know, we do charge people like, why are your prices so expensive for your seasoning? Well, this is 8 ounces of pure seasoning. If I wanted to go and bring this commercial to go sell it at Costco,
right,
I'm going to fill 80% of this with salt. I'm going to sell you 80% salt and 20% seasoning, and I'll get you 16 ounces for $10. But it's not going to be, you know, of good quality.
No, and that's exactly right. That is exactly right. When I go to my little place here, local, right, my Evolution place, that's exactly what I'm dealing with. You're dealing with very small amounts, very, very concentrated, very nice. And when we're dealing with the cuts like we're dealing with, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate what you're bringing to the table because we're relying on you when we're putting it on our steaks. And you're not letting us down. That's the big part of it. Man. I definitely, it's awesome where you guys are going with this. I really appreciate it.
Well, look, here's our picanha seasoning, and it's 4 ounces for $8.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's salt, but nobody understands the process to infuse salt.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an easy process. It's dehydrating the salt. It's recrystallizing the salt. You know, it's getting right. If you mix seasoning and you boil it with salt, it just becomes salt water.
Yep.
So you have to recrystallize it again and break it into chunks. I mean, it's a whole process that goes on with it. And I got to tell you, whoever's in the barbecue spice game, not a lot of margin in that thing.
No.
Unless you're, you know, a meat church or, you know, Dizzy Pig or one of those, you make it up in volume, but there's no markup at all in the seasoning. I mean, we're barely, you know, maybe we're at 15 to 20% margin on our seasoning because it's that expensive. You know, I don't want to fill it with garbage. I don't want to sell garbage.
100%. That's why I haven't come up with a rub yet, man. To be honest with you, everyone always bugs me about merch. The reason why I haven't merched out is because, like, I have guys with 300 followers that I've, you know what I mean, that have like 8 rubs out.
Right.
And why bother? You know what I mean? Until I have something substantial like what you're dealing with right there. And I can fully put myself behind it. Why would I put out an inferior product just to get a product out there?
Just to on it, yeah.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to try the Steak Princesses. She just came out with 2 rubs. She's a 14-year-old competition. Yep. She just came out with 2 of them. I just ordered them, and I can't wait to try those. I can't. And there's a couple like BBQ.
Yep,
fantastic. I mean, he has a really good line of rubs, and then you know, Meat Church has theirs, and then you get into the commercial rubs. You could go to Costco, right, and you could buy a 24-ounce jug of pork seasoning.
Yep.
The ingredients, and you're like, you're buying 90% salt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I called my co-packer. I said, how could I ever get into a Costco when they're selling 24 ounces for $10?
Yeah.
He goes, well, you never can unless you want to make it 90% table salt.
Yeah.
We're sourcing all these, we're using, in Gabe's, in his Euro seasoning, I mean, we're using Greek oregano. We're not using, your street oregano. We're he wanted the top ingredients, and it's vegan, it's non-MSG, it's, the organic materials. So I only want to put out a high quality product.
And you can taste the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. I mean, I've had 3 or 4 different Euro seasonings, and they don't compare. I mean, and my wife is one of the toughest critics that I have, which is great. So, I know when she takes a bite of it and she's like, yeah, this is it. These are the flavors I want. This is what I like. I'm like, perfect. Because it's just there, and Pastor, I've tried a lot of different ways to recreate Pastor. I've had, one of my first real memories of food is I went to Tijuana through my church a couple of times through, middle school and high school. And the first night we stopped at this legit taco stand in Tijuana, and it's, they're breaking off the El Pastor tacos. And I've had El Pastor tacos up here at Mexican restaurants. And again, the flavor that you get from your recipe and your seasoning is as close as I can get to going back to that taco stand in Tijuana with whatever meat was there, El Pastor, and eating those tacos. And that brought me back to that. And again,
that means a lot. Thank you.
You can tell the difference, that the corners weren't cut when, making that seasoning and putting it together. So it's pretty awesome.
Noam, like I told you, the first time I cracked that bag, I had my editor here, and he's tasted every frickin' rub under the sun because he's my camera guy. He's in here. He's doing everything. Like for 3 years now, I've nailed him with a barrage of everything you could think of with every kind of rib and loin and everything. He went home with a bag from that pork tenderloin that I did, my very first trompo with the asado seasoning, right? And he called me 15 minutes after he got home, and he was like, "What's up with this, man? Why is this so much different?" And he called it out right then and there. And we're talking someone who smokes an ounce of weed a day. Like this guy, he's in his stratosphere. And he's not a connoisseur of food either. Like he could care less. He'll hit McDonald's on the way home. He's fine. But he ripped into that, and he was like, "This is different, man. Whatever that was, we need to talk about that." And I texted you right after he did that. Yeah. I texted you, and I was like, "That you're on to something here, man." Because he never talks about food. He doesn't give a shit about food, right? He's just here to shoot it, and he's like, whatever that was, something's different. And that meant the world to me. I really liked it, but I'm passionate. I get right into everything. I really like a lot of things. It's hard for me to not like something because I just am in the moment all the time, right? Mm-hmm. But for him to double back on that and be like, "No, man, that's legit." I was very taken back by that.
I really appreciate both of you, speaking so kindly of it. You can see the hard work that goes into it and the quality that we put. So when I started the company, like 3-4 years ago, and I'm charging $100 for a hand-tooled 304 solid stainless steel 12-gauge plate with a spike, the comments used to hurt. The comments used to really hurt. They're like, it's a plate and a spike. I could go get that for $10. And those used to hurt. Now it's like, I don't even want those as customers. You got to understand what workmanship and quality is. And then you get it in your hand.
Yeah.
What's really funny is when you go on YouTube and you can see, Pit Boss Gabe and I think we did like 10 reviews, and we even did the weight. This is 2 pounds. This is 2 pounds of steel crammed into 8 inches.
Oh, it's solid. That will never warp, man. I've had her on the Fury of Hell and she's never warped. I know.
This isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's funny when you order something, you go to Amazon, you're like, oh, it's $30 instead of $50. Let me go order the $30 one, and you get it, and it doesn't even weigh half a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just, my 13-year-old is sitting there going, whoop, and it bends.
Yeah.
And it's gone. I can only imagine it's one cook. So, yeah, those comments used to hurt. Yeah. And now it's like, you know what? I know what I have until they see one and hold it and play with it.
Yeah.
They don't know what they got.
No, tell you what, man, someone that's in the steel industry, right? It's all great and fine. If you bring me a pie plate, a stainless pie plate, and you can maybe source out of China a threaded bolt or a threaded nut long enough to fit a shaft, okay. Right. But then where are you going to get that shaft made and threaded? All right. So now you've got that price, this price, and that price. Now you got to pay me to TIG weld that thing on there. Guess what? Cheaper to go to Trompo. Just saying. Right. Like actually, this is the thing that people don't even seem to understand. They're like, well, can't you just, tack this onto this and make it happen? Well, sure, but no. Yeah. And then you talk about the quality. Safe. Yeah, right. It's not food safe. It's not that thick. It will warp, right? There's a list of reasons why. And I get it, man. I deal with farmers all day long out here. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, you want something that works, or do you want to be stuck out in the field when it doesn't work? Like that's a huge point. And I
think I'm gonna create a new page because I get tagged, I would say 7 to 10 times a day, where people made their own homemade Trompo King. They're like, "Oh, I made a homemade Trompo King. I saved $80."
Yeah,
and you see like a nickel washer with an aluminum stake. Yeah, or and then you see like a paper towel holder from Home Depot.
Yeah,
and all that nickel's leaching into the seasoned meat, and they're killing their family with it. So I would like to make, without being rude, I'd like to make the knockoff pages of, hey, you made yourself a homemade Trompo King. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. 100%, man. That's I love it. I get it, man. You're preaching to the choir. Like when we're dealing just with the steel prices. Don't even get me started on anything else. Just the steel prices alone. Like I
didn't pass that on to the consumer. I ate that.
That's what I'm saying. Like you didn't adjust like everyone else did.
No.
It's so. Yeah, I get where you're coming from, man, and I appreciate everything you are doing.
Mm-hmm. No,
you are top shelf the whole way. And you know what? If people have to pay a little bit up front to get that lasting, like our buddy Jared. Our buddy Jared is still cooking on your first.
He's got the original one. Yeah, he's got the
OG, the square unit. He still cooks on it, man. I saw it when I was out there.
I still don't know how he got it. I only made 100 of those, and they sold in like. Oh, really?
He got it direct from whatever. He's got a tie with Dixon, and that's how he got that. It was one of the first samples I think you sent up.
Right. There was only 100 made of those, and then we went to the round.
Yep. Yeah, wow. He was on the ground. He was on the ground floor of that thing, man, and it's still going strong. So.
Yeah, he still knocks it out of the park. I see it. I still kept one. I have every version going all the way through over the last 5 years. But before I jet out, Mel, I'm sorry about the your customs in Canada. I guess the package I sent you is coming back, so I got another one going out to you. I got all my seasonings. I got the mini coming out to you, and then Chris, I'm going to send out. What seasonings are you short on? What do you need over there?
I think I'm good. The salt one would be fantastic.
Okay.
Chris loves salt. He's a big salt.
So you're not gonna like the new one. And again, I didn't want to get into the spice industry. I didn't want to get into the rubs, but because there's a need out there, we're coming out with a salt-free taco seasoning.
Oh yeah.
In 3 weeks, that's going to be done because when I'm making tacos at let's say ground beef.
Yep.
And then you go buy that McCormick or whatever, and you rip the pack and you put it in. It's loaded with MSG and yeast and whatever else they put into it. I think we nailed the formula, and I've tested it out, to over 500 people. I had the surveys come back. I mean, we do our homework on these things before we launch, and they were in the high 9s to almost a perfect 10 score on flavor with no salt. So if you're a salt guy, you can just add it in as you go, but you're not going to get all that garbage in there, all the filler.
Yeah, so I was talking about my wife, and that's one of the meals that she does make is the ground beef tacos,
Right.
or we'll use ground turkey tacos.
Right.
It's one of her few. And actually, that's what my 9-year-old daughter said one night. We're eating dinner, and she goes, "Dad, we're lucky you're part of this family because if you weren't, we just eat tacos every night." Well, don't say that. And
right.
second of all, it's not that bad.
I'd eat tacos every night if I was allowed.
Well, this is so. To be honest with you, to the wife, Taco Tuesday is hard shell tacos with raw onion, ground beef with a bit of chili seasoning, shredded cheddar cheese, and maybe some diced tomatoes or salsa with a bit of sour cream.
Perfect.
And that is what she grew up as tacos on. So when she sees me doing anything but that, she's like, "That's not a taco. I don't know what you're."
Okay.
When I did these like beautiful the fish tacos and the shrimp tacos and stuff, she's like, "Yeah, but this isn't like a classic taco." She literally has like the Taco Time meal kit is what she came up with, and that is what a taco is. She has. So every once in a while we have them, and for me, like they give me heartburn. I don't know why. It's because there's nothing interesting in them that my body is like rejecting it. That's what I say.
Yeah, there's something in there.
My wife and I have this debate, and I'll get your two guys to weigh in on it before we close her down.
I want to hear it.
You're doing just. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. It's a pretty good, simple. It'll take you 2 seconds to answer. It's real easy. I don't know where he's going. Probably chasing his dog for humping something else.
His dog needs his own Instagram page.
He does. I think he'd blow up and be bigger than all of us.
Right?
I mean, it's Elvis. So, how are things down south right now? You guys hot as hell?
We have our general rainstorms around 6 p.m. every night. So I get to jump on my bike around 8 o'clock and it's 81 degrees and it's muggy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you know this or not. I went to the University of Wisconsin for about a year.
Yep.
And I couldn't, by November, it stopped snowing. It's too fucking cold. You're 5 degrees in November and that's the high for the day. I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Well, we were, like I said, we were down in Charleston all weekend. And when we came back on Sunday, it was hotter here than it was down there.
Yeah, it's
92.
Knock on wood, it's been mild. It's been a really mild summer. And just only this past week, it got to 91, 92 degrees during the day.
Okay. So here's the debate that we have. My wife makes just the plain old ground beef tacos, ground meat tacos. They're going in a hard shell taco that she warmed up. We're just putting, say lettuce, cheese, sour cream, and sauce on it. How are you building that taco in order of ingredients?
First of all, lettuce ruins a taco.
Okay.
Can't have shredded lettuce in there.
Lettuce is for salads. If you're making a gyro or a donair or something and you're putting lettuce in there, I don't even want to talk to you anymore.
But this is bringing it back to the Taco Bell style taco.
I know.
But the meat is always first.
Yep.
The meat has to go first, then the cheese so it melts slightly onto the meat, and then anything else you want on top. Me, if I'm eating a crunchy taco, I kind of like the bottom just a little bit soggy.
Okay.
But if you put lettuce in it, that ruins the whole thing.
Of our hot lunch at school with the soggy hard shell tacos. That the bottom would get soggy, and then for whatever reason the cheese that they had was like rubber cheese.
Yeah,
it never melted.
But it was a sausage high heat cheddar.
Mel, how are you building that taco?
I like to throw the cheese on first, then the meat on top, hoping that the heat from the meat will melt the cheese a little bit.
Okay.
Because I hate an unmelted cheese, and that's usually what happens.
Okay.
I'll keep my salsa as far away from the cheese as I can as well. That's part of my thing.
Okay.
Lettuce or no lettuce?
I don't do lettuce. We do onions, like chopped white onions raw. We like that, but
yeah, no lettuce.
Yeah.
So
no.
So this is one that my wife's gonna win, but she's not on here, so it's fine because she's very much the same way: meat, cheese, and the lettuce. Where I'm very much like that's not how Taco Bell does it. So I do the meat, lettuce, and the cheese. Well, first thing I'll do is I'll put the sour cream on the inside first, so you get sour cream in every bite. And then the meat, lettuce, cheese, sauce. Not that again, in a perfect world, yes, I want the melty cheese, but that's not how Taco Bell does it. And if I'm going to eat these ground, meat tacos, I want that comfort. I don't know, not sure what just basic taco flavors.
But if you're doing the meat, lettuce, cheese, the cheese is falling out. You're taking a bite, and that cheese is all over the place.
Everywhere, because those taco shells too. As soon as you bite into it, they crack in half. They break. Right. Oh, yeah, it's
In the hard shell, if I'm doing sour cream, I'll put the sour cream in first.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a binder right there.
And I'll paint it in there with the spoon as I do my thing, and then when the meat sticks to all the so that makes sense for sure. But I like to put the cheese in right there before I put the meat in, because that way the cheese goes in with the meat in every bite.
Yeah,
I don't mind missing a few onions, but the cheese is. Yeah.
It makes absolute perfect sense to do it that way, but I still, for whatever reason, can't do it that way. I build it just like the old basic Taco Bell hot lunch at school tacos.
No. That's awesome.
Broken.
I love tacos.
Yeah.
Tacos are awesome, man. I cannot wait to come down to Florida and see that taco scene down there, man. I cannot even fathom what it's like.
We can drive and stop and have a bite at 30 different taco shops.
Yeah.
All within like a 7-mile strip. And they're open 24 hours, 24/7. They cater to the Latin American community that's around here. 3 o'clock in the morning, you get a craving for a taco. I'll take you to Tacos El Carbone. This is how much they've expanded. They started with a food truck. Then they built a little building. Then they added another food truck, and then they merged another food truck into it. So it's 4 food trucks in a stand-up building, all sandwiched together. And so we could go there. They have the fresh roasted corn, the tacos al pastor, the chorizo. They have everything. And then we could take the drive 2 minutes later, and we go to Lupita's, and then we go to another one, and then we go to another one. It's just it's nonstop action of tacos down here.
He wants to eat all the tacos.
And we're gonna do our video down there. We're gonna do
that video,
and we're gonna do it every taco truck.
Yeah. Check this out. So Chris Hill talking about doing the wet wrap around the dry taco. There it is.
It's true.
That's genius.
With the refried beans or the nacho cheese, but using the sour cream is a great idea.
Yeah, sour cream is a binder for a soft taco around a hard shell. Oh, buddy, that's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, it's been a blast. I love talking tacos. I'm super hungry now.
Yeah.
And now I need to figure out when I get to make some tacos.
That's it, buddy.
Tomorrow.
That's it.
Taco tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. Taco Wednesday, everybody. That's it. Fantastic. Noam, thank you very much for coming in, man.
Thanks,
Chris,
buddy.
Mel, thank you guys.
Great to
appreciate it.
Always.
See you soon.
You guys have a great night.
You too. Bye, guys. Oh.